Welcome to episode 5 of our Insurance, Investments, and All About Town podcast. Our podcast is dedicated to empowering listeners with knowledge they need to navigate home and auto insurance, healthcare insurance, make smart investment decisions, and stay informed about local happenings. We provide insights and practical advice, helping you preserve your financial future while staying connected to your community. Tune in as we break down complex topics into actionable steps for a better, more informed life. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have my partner in crime here, Tara Lavelle with Vaughn Fire Insurance.
Yep.
And on our left today, we have Mayor Chris Lievsay with Blue Springs.
The city of Blue Springs.
City of Blue Springs.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for coming. 5 episodes.
Is it really? 5?
It's been 5 episodes. Did you check out our count on our last one?
I did not.
You did not?
No.
Did your dad watch it?
I don't know. I haven't asked him. I'll have to call my dad.
What was the last one that he
Now,
watched?
I do know my mom watched.
Okay, all right.
Yes, and
okay.
I had a couple other friends that I know from the community mention that they had watched.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I saw that.
I mean, mainly one. Her name is Amanda.
So do I win a prize
She
if
might
viewership
work
goes up after this or something?
Right, so
Okay.
no pressure.
Is there a game?
Yeah, right, no pressure.
If viewership
I didn't realize.
goes down,
Yes. Well, I mean, when you have David Mann on and he runs a brewery, that's tough to compete with. So,
that is
you know,
true. That is
that's
true.
tough.
So you've watched it? You knew David was on?
I am aware of the podcast. I can't see I've watched a full episode yet.
A
So
full episode.
I've seen parts of it.
Okay,
So.
all right,
Yes.
okay.
Well,
We'll
tell
let-
me.
Right?
Tell me the number.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. I think we were up to like 20.
You're leaving suspense,
Yeah,
so.
I think we're almost to 30 that
Okay,
watched it. So,
good.
and it's only been out, I think, a couple weeks. So it's not too bad.
I
So-
saw last week there was a little blurb of it sent out too that focused on your section of the podcast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's fun. Look for it. I know you can find it on YouTube, or
Yeah.
if you're friends with one of us on Facebook, you can probably find it there. But
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't know that we've ever really mentioned that, but if you go out to YouTube, I know ECS Capital Investments, I have a YouTube page out there, ECS Capital Investments, that's where you can find all the episodes of the podcast. That's probably good. We've never mentioned that.
No.
Maybe that's
I
what
don't have a YouTube. I'm just writing Eric's.
You got to tell them to like and follow.
Right.
Like,
Oh,
that's-
yes.
yeah,
Good
the
idea.
lingo,
Find
see,
us
you know.
on, LinkedIn. I don't know.
Maybe you should be
The
our
influencer lingo, you got to get it in there. So.
maybe
Sounds like
Do you ever
Mayor
take-
Chris
Mayor-
needs another job.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
You are,
you can
so many.
consult for our podcast.
right?
Do you have a TikTok yet? Do some dances?
Yeah,
No.
No,
you don't like
I've
that.
never
Yeah,
even.
yeah.
I don't.
I'm just
have
saying it's an
TikTok,
option, that's all I'm
period,
saying.
So
We want
interesting.
viewership to go up.
Oh, okay.
Not down.
I feel like that would just be fodder for my children to make fun of me. Is what that would be. So
Exactly.
It would definitely make family
and they're
events
grown,
entertaining.
so it's not
Yeah.
like they're young
Yes.
and don't know any better. It's
Yeah.
intentional.
Yeah. Well, today I think you were going to talk, and I even highlighted it today because I know last time I struggled a little bit
That's okay.
of finding what you were going to talk about. But special enrollment periods.
Yep.
And you were going to talk about 2 qualifying life events when it comes to the insurance world. Tara, why don't you just kind of jump in and tell us a little bit about those types of programs?
Sure. When we talk about health insurance, whether that's Marketplace, your group plan, maybe you're on Medicare with a supplement or an Advantage plan, you are kind of stuck in what you have unless you have a qualifying life event, which opens up a special enrollment period. So that special enrollment period looks different based on kind of where you're at in your health insurance journey. So if you're in Medicare, you've got a supplement, you've got an Advantage plan, there are some very specific qualifying events that allow you to possibly make a change. So if you move and your zip code changes, that can open up a special enrollment period for you.
Interesting.
And that is because those plans are zip code driven. So something that is available here in 64014 and 64015 isn't available in Green Valley at, I think, 64029 maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be, but the point is, if you move from here to Columbia, maybe here to St. Louis, or you move out of state, it's time to revisit that plan and make sure that you still have coverage, or that maybe there's something else offered. Let's see, if you've been residing outside of the United States, move back in. Obviously, that's a big address change. You can now open a special enrollment period, make a new selection if you've lost coverage. So maybe your employer no longer offers, you've lost your job and are Medicare eligible, or you've been on COBRA and are Medicare eligible, and that COBRA is getting ready to end. That also opens up a special enrollment period for you. If you're no longer eligible for Medicaid, that's another one that gives you an opportunity to enroll. So let's say your financial situation has changed, you're no longer eligible for Medicaid, but are of Medicare age, you then get a special enrollment period. Let's see, have an opportunity for other coverage. So maybe you have a work plan that you can get into that allows you to make a new decision, disenroll, those types of things. And lastly, and this one actually happened this year to quite a few people. So the Medicare industry itself is pretty volatile. So we have carriers jumping in and out of the space all of the time. This last year, some plans changed, so plans were no longer available. Carriers left the market. This year, the big one was Blue Cross Blue Shield left. I'm not going to say left one or the other because suddenly I can't remember. But if you were on those plans, you had an opportunity to re-enroll. Now, when it comes to ACA, which is marketplace or individual coverage, or group coverage through your employer, those are always the same. So if it's a qualifying event for group, it's a qualifying event for ACA or marketplace. And those are typically changes in household is the first one. So that's birth, a birth of a child, adoption, marriage, divorce, your spouse passes away, and they carried the insurance previously. All of those give you an opportunity to change coverage. So for instance, you have traditionally, I don't know, let's say you haven't carried insurance, your spouse has had it, and you have a baby mid-year and find out that your plan would actually be less expensive and better than the one you've been on with your spouse. Well, you have the opportunity to now join your plan if you want to and get out of his or hers. Let's see, those are household. Loss of coverage is another one. So you lose your job, your spouse loses their job, you can flip-flop. So I just worked with a couple whose husband was laid off, had coverage through the end of the year. She has typically not elected coverage or waived with her employer, but this created a special enrollment period for them, and they were able to get on her benefits. You do have 60 days from a qualifying life event to make that change. Any idea what happens if you don't take advantage of that in those 60 days?
You're kind of wait till open enrollment.
That's kind
There we
of
go.
right?
That's exactly it. So you have to wait until open enrollment. So really paying attention to those windows, making changes when they need to be made, keeps you from having to hold off for an entire, it could be, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months, 4 months, whenever your specific open enrollment period is. Now for Marketplace, it's always January 1st is the new enrollment date for anybody who is trying to get in on open enrollment. But for businesses or your group plan, that could be any month throughout the year. The most popular is going to be January 1, but I have groups that renew every month out of the year, right? Depending on when they've signed up for benefits. So those are the things you need to keep in mind when you're thinking, do I need to make a change? And sometimes too, you might make a change just based on we'll go back to pregnancy.
You're right.
You
That was going to be a question I was going to ask,
Maybe you were in the high deductible plan and you realize there's a lower deductible plan and children go to the doctor more often. Maybe you just want to switch between plans. That qualifying event gives you a window to do that.
Okay.
Look at that. I feel good about the number of minutes I took. Eric, what questions do you have?
Yeah, well, you talked about pregnancy, right? And so one thing that came to mind is what if somebody is paying, cash paying, their medical, right? Because, a lot of people nowadays, they don't carry it. They just, hey, what's your cash price, right? So if somebody finds out that they're cash paying, right, and find out that they're pregnant, right? Is that a qualifying event? They'll have to wait till January 1,
Not really, so they wouldn't. The birth of the baby does create the qualifying event. The pregnancy does not.
Okay.
And so that mom, for example, could continue to pay cash, right?
pay, yeah.
I mean, that's an option,
Yeah.
even for expecting mothers. There are programs out there. But to get on like a marketplace plan, the birth of the baby. And some states also have uninsured mother programs through their Medicaid program, so that might be something to check into as well.
Okay.
But yes, it's the actual birth that creates the special enrollment period.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I would say the danger in that situation is you are paying cash for everything to go just right.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
right.
You're certainly leaving yourself open for risk
Right.
if something unexpected happens,
Something
because that's
major.
not going to
Right.
cover if you need to be in a hospital facility or
Correct.
something else. So I mean, also wouldn't cover, you trip and fall and break a leg, like
Right. Right.
So there are certainly. That's becoming more and more popular. Some of these
Yeah.
cash pay and
Yeah.
private doctor agreements.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think they work in certain circumstances, but catastrophic loss, and that's where you need to maybe think through that a little bit more. And those options, the options for insurance outside of what we consider the norm, tend to narrow. Short-term plans used to be available for 12-month
Right,
periods
right.
longer. They're now
Yeah.
only 3 months.
Yeah.
So in the healthcare industry, it's rapidly changing.
Yeah.
Every year is different. I mean, Medicare itself is a political football, so we never
Right.
know what to expect there. Group rules change all the time.
Right.
Healthcare reform in 2014 was a game changer for everybody. So you
Right.
never know. It's always
Right.
good to have somebody you can lean on and trust in those situations.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody like that.
So I know you and I, had the conversation of, hey, we're going to try to keep this podcast a little shorter, right?
Yeah. How did you?
But we're fine. But I'm going to take us down this rabbit hole, so I'm going to make it a little longer,
Gosh darn
probably.
it.
So blame this one on me. This is something I've been hearing a lot about, and this isn't something that you talked about today, but it jogs something in my brain here. Of you hear a lot about these faith-based plans. I just, like I said, has nothing to do with today, but since it jogged a memory, what do you think about these faith-based plans? And you pay into it, and they're paying out. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No.
This isn't something we rehearsed or anything, and hopefully I'm not putting you in a bad spot. But what are your thoughts on those types of plans?
Well, I will give you my understanding of those types of
Okay.
plans. So my understanding on those plans is they are not insurance carriers. So that's first and foremost.
Okay.
It is not an insurance plan. It is a pooled amount of money based off of, essentially
Members.
that's how we all work, right?
Right.
That is how insurance
Right.
works. But I would tell you their pool is much smaller. So where I see those can fail is how many big hospital
Right.
bills
That's what I was just thinking.
can it withstand?
Right, especially if you have an older, the way you explain it that way, then if you have an older base inside those plans, right, then that more care, more cost. I see where you're coming at,
Yep.
and they could run out of money, I guess.
Yes.
So,
And the industry itself is it's a struggle. It is expensive. Healthcare is expensive.
right.
End of story. And I
Right.
know that everybody's trying to find a way to cut their costs. And there are years that those types of plans, short-term plans, they work fabulously
Great, right.
because you don't need them.
Right.
But the whole point of insurance is insuring the unexpected.
Right.
And that's really what you're trying to do is if the worst happens, am I covered or do I
Covered,
end
right.
up with a $500,000
Dollar
medical bill?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's good information. It just kind of came to me, I guess.
Yeah, that
but
was.
with
Thanks
nothing
for
to do with
putting me on the spot.
It's insightful.
right. Good for something every now and then. So, Chris, do you have any questions for Terry or anything? I don't feel like you have to. I just,
No, my personal experience with insurance has been pretty extensive. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I have a chronic illness, so I've had to ensure that I've had group insurance for all of my career, and so I've experienced some of those qualifying events over time. And I guess the only question I had when you were talking is similar to your question about the pregnancy is supplemental insurance. If you have multiple employers or something like that and you lose a supplemental plan, is that also a qualifying event?
So yes.
Okay.
So you're talking
Any kind of coverage loss. triggers
kind
that.
of coverage loss should trigger that. So
Yeah.
from the group platform, right, I would say you get married, all of a sudden you get an enrollment period for
Yeah.
everything, right? So you want to add accident, you want to add pet insurance, just
It's
add
all
what you
open
need
now.
now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Very cool.
All right, that's good. Good information today, Tara. That really was. Sorry for putting you on the spot.
That's okay.
So,
It wouldn't be a good podcast if that didn't happen every once in a
Right,
while.
right,
One
right.
of these days he'll ask me when I'll go get the headlights.
Why did you say that?
I'll get up ripping afterwards. So it only took me 5 episodes to come up with that something. So you're good for another 5.
Perfect.
So well, today, if you're done.
I am
You're
finished.
done? All right, okay. Well, I was going to talk a little bit about 529 college plans.
Love it.
Yeah, and the reason I wanted to kind of visit or talk about that today is, the average cost of inflation on college tuition is about 4 to 5% a year. And, if you look at the average, inflation of just inflation itself averages about 2.7, 2.9 a year. So you can see it's well above, what regular, inflation is. But if you look at the average cost, if we go back like the last 20 years and you look starting at about 2003, if you look at the average in-state college tuition, it's average about $4,700. That was what it was in 2003. Fast forward to today, 2023, you're looking at about 10,600. If my 10,900 is what an average cost today is. So I did a little math. And me and math, right? Numbers and numbers, But I have a program, I have a company that I subscribe to. It's called Money Guide Pro, and I can go in and do kind of hypotheticals. So what I did is I went in and said, okay, we had an individual or a child that was born January 1st of this year, and it'll kind of give us a projection, of what it might look like in when they're 18 and going to college.
I'm terrified.
It is. It is scary. If you look at just Mizzou, for instance, right now, by the time they got to college at Mizzou, it'd be about $26,000
a year.
a little over $26,600 a year, and so that equates to roughly $106,000 for 4 years of college. And so that's right, that's Mizzou, that's big time university, right? And so what if it was, let's say it's UCM, right? It's lower level, still 4-year college, but it's not Mizzou. You're still looking at a little over $20,000 a year just for UCM. And even 4 years of that puts it at $81,000 for 4 years of college. And so then that's just in-state. So I said, hey, what about if you're looking at out-of-state? And so I put Oklahoma in here, and the reason, why Oklahoma, Eric? Well, I looked at like Arkansas, but Arkansas will look at Missouri as in-state tuition, and I'm not sure about KU, K-State, how they do. So I picked Oklahoma, but Oklahoma is $35,000 a year for
OU?
Oklahoma
University.
Oklahoma University is $35,000 a year for out-of-state tuition.
Okay.
And that's $140,000 a year.
Currently.
Well, no, this is future dollars.
That's future dollars.
It does
Adjusted for inflation.
Right,
Okay.
adjusted for inflation.
Gotcha.
You're exactly
All
right.
Okay.
Yeah, I meant today. If they started, in the fall next year, it wouldn't be.
Right. Okay.
It's projecting it 4.5%. Is what it's looking at, and that's public, right? And so we got private colleges out there too, and you're seeing the exact same thing. In 2003, it was $18,000 for an average, 4-year of tuition at a private college, and then you look at that, fast forward to today, and you're looking at just a little over $39,000 a year.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's the national average. So I said, hey, we got private colleges right here in the metro, right?
Yep, we do.
Rockhurst is
Rockhurst
private.
is big,
Yep.
yeah.
Rockhurst. So Rockhurst is $54,000 a year.
Wow.
And
Wait, now or in the future?
Okay.
Okay.
In the future. In the future.
Man, we're time warping. It's messing with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So think about that, $54,000. That's over $217,000. If inflation on college tuition stays where it's at, or if they don't fix anything, that's what you're looking at. And that is without room and board.
Oh, that
That's
does
if
not
they live at home,
include-
huh?
That's because
Wow.
we're right here
We're
in
right
Kansas
here.
City, right? So you
Wow.
could probably commute. That's an 11 grand if you want to throw to it.
Wow.
Room and board on top of there.
I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old.
I'm
not trying to scare
You're making me nervous. You're making me nervous.
Yeah, and so so that's why it's important to look at starting 529 college plans. Start early, because the earlier you start, the more those things
Yes.
that can grow. Another thing is maximizing your states. All states actually have 529 plans, like Missouri most, right? And so a lot of states will give you a tax break, a state tax break. Don't ask me what they are. That's
You're not the
that's
tax
above
guy.
my pay grade.
We know a guy,
We
though.
know a guy.
We
Go
know
back
a
a few
guy.
episodes, and
Yeah.
we should ask Lauren. But yeah, so the good thing about Missouri is though, they will recognize any state's college savings plan, and you can get a tax break potentially. So
Wow.
just talk with, like I said, CPA, the person doing your taxes. Automatic contributions, always talk about just set it and forget it, right? Just
Yes.
put money in there, and it'll grow over time, and you'll be okay. It's kind of a set it and forget it type thing. And then the last thing I always say is just stay informed, right? And with my clients, we meet at least once a year. I'll meet as much as you want. If you want to meet every quarter, I'll meet you every quarter. Every month, I'll meet you every month. But at least once a year, we're sitting down, and that if you have a 529, we go over that and say, hey, here's where this is how we did. And, do we need to make any changes? So those are kind of the four things I would tell you when it comes to investing. Now I'll get to this. What can 529 plans be used for? Right?
Yep.
Tuition. Right? We all know tuition, books. Believe it or not, it can be used for. They've changed it now where you can do off-campus housing, so you can
Okay.
actually use it now. You can't go rent the Taj Mahal.
So are there limits?
Well, you can't, not really limits, but you can't kind of, here is what, housing,
Okay,
student
so it
housing
needs
would
to
look like.
align.
It kind of needs to align,
Okay, that
exactly.
makes sense.
As I said, you can't go rent the Taj Mahal, and so.
Nothing bougie.
Yeah, so.
Still a college kid.
Here's something that a lot of people don't realize now they changed is now it also pays for private elementary schools. So like
okay.
I have some clients that have kids that go to private schooling, and they use their 529 plans to
Okay.
pay for their tuition for elementary. And
Interesting.
Yep. So that just changed a few years ago. So you can do that. And I think now there is a limit. I think it's like $10,000 is the limit. It can't be more than $10,000 a year into private schooling.
Okay.
And then last thing is you can use it abroad. Believe it or not.
Oh,
So if
for
you're
a
going to
study
study
abroad
yep,
or-
yeah.
Good to know.
And I said, hey, here's the last thing. And also trade schools. So if
Okay.
you're,
I was going to ask that
Yeah.
question.
see, I already beat you
Yeah.
to it. Yeah, beat
I'm
you
running
to
out
it.
of questions now.
So if one of your kids wants to be a welder,
Yeah.
and they're going to go to tech school, you can use it to pay for, that as well. Computers, I just thought of that as well. Anymore, you got to have a computer for
Yeah.
college. You can use a 529 plan to purchase a computer before they go off to college. And so, and then the last thing I kind of leave you with is you don't have to do it alone, right? So who can contribute to a 529 plan? Anybody
Anyone.
can contribute to a 529 plan. I always talk to my clients and say, hey, look, instead of grandma and grandpa getting that third gift for
Right.
the
Yeah.
for the grandchild, right? Hey, let's take that money and let's put it towards their 529 plan. So
a great
anybody
idea.
can contribute to a 529 plan. So
So I have a question.
yep.
Is the 529 plan open in the child's name? Does that make sense?
So it's opened in the adult's name, right? A adult's name, right? Because they're going to be the custodian of the account. The beneficiary, the child, is a minor, right? And so you're going to have a custodian watching over the account.
Next question.
Yep.
Is that 529 designated to just one child?
It's a great question. You thought I would have put that on here, but so here's what happens. Let's say your child gets an academic, academic or athletic scholarship, right?
They're brilliant and they're
Right.
going to school for
Right.
free.
And so, that child, you don't even need to use the 529.
Okay.
Your second child, didn't get the brains, didn't get the athletic, ability.
But they're really sweet.
Really sweet,
Really
right?
sweet.
Yeah.
Got a great personality.
Right, exactly. Social butterfly, right? You can take those funds from the other 529 plan and shift them. You can shift beneficiaries on the plan. So you can shift it, and you want to go back to college yourself, you can go back to college as well
Interesting.
and use those funds as well. And so
those contributions to 529 plans, are those tax-free? Are those post-tax? How does that affect your taxes?
So I'm sorry, say that again. So the contributions?
The contribution, yeah.
Yeah. So that goes back to the state where you can get a little bit. You're not going to get dollar for dollar when it comes to those contributions. Where a 529 plan is going to benefit you the most is on the backside. Is because anything that you pull out that you use for college expenses is tax-free withdrawals, as long as it's for college.
Right.
Now you can.
So post-tax dollars, we're giving it post-tax dollars. Okay.
Yep.
But the education expenses are tax-free.
Tax-free, yep. The
Withdrawals.
gains, let's say your gains,
gains.
gains are tax-free as long as you use them for, college expenses.
Okay.
Yeah, buying a car, not going to be a college expense.
But they need the car to get to college.
You can drive them.
I could.
So, but yeah, those are some things about, a 529 plan.
And are there other options? Let's say a 529 maybe isn't what you've chosen. Maybe you don't know. Is this, there's, I think the view on college is changing.
Right.
And so what happens? Is there a different way to invest?
There's always different. There's a couple other avenues. I mean, you could look at, you could open up a Roth IRA, right? There are some different guidelines, of the withdrawals may not be tax-free and this type of thing.
Right.
So to answer your question, there are other options. But your best option when it comes to tax-free withdrawals is going to be like a 529. So and we were talking about these, and I'm circling them here, but we were talking about these big numbers here. Keep in mind, and we just mentioned a few minutes ago, so there's always academic, there's always athletic, to help bring these costs down as well, So, so when I'm saying these numbers, yes, they do sound scary, but there's other ways to, I know Rockhurst, for instance. I know one of my clients' sons played baseball at Rockhurst, and he got a decent amount of academic and athletic to help bring those costs down, So, but anyway. That's all I got on that.
Yeah, that's great stuff, Eric. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm not done because you know how I like numbers, right? So this comes from a company, MFS is one of the companies that, matter of fact, I do a lot of my 529 plans with, but they put out a little blurb the other day, as goes January. In the 42 years since 1953, the S&P 500 was up in January. The median rest of the year for the index was a gain of 13.5%. So if the S&P 500 up in January, the rest of the gain for the year has been a gain of 13.5%, with positive returns 86% of the time.
Wow.
Okay.
So any guesses on what January
Were we
did?
up in January?
We were up in January.
All right.
So, there's a
bad.
good chance, we have
Throw that money in at 529.
So, and then in the 30 years when the S&P was down in January, the median rest of the year gain was 3.5%.
Oh, wow.
So
That's dramatic.
It is a big.
That's
10%,
big.
right?
That's 10%.
Yeah. So, and then the last one. So at least the month is short. Over the last 50 years, the S&P 500 average move during February has been a gain of only 0.12%.
Wow.
Yeah, with gains 56% of the time. February ranks as the second weakest month of the year behind, guess.
August.
Close.
December.
You're very close.
I was thinking the slump after the summer.
you
That
got
was
it.
my thought. But.
September.
Okay,
September
yeah,
averages
okay.
a negative 0.89%.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this month typically is a slow month when it comes to the market.
I feel like January lasts like 3 months, so it's sort of unfair. It's like 90 days in January. It sucks all the life out of February. Yeah. Everybody's just glad they survived January.
Right, exactly.
I feel like when Eric does these bits with all of the numbers, that what everybody sees are all these numbers above my head
like,
floating. I'm lost. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I thought that was kind of interesting.
It is.
Yeah, just February is one of the slower.
That is fascinating.
So,
Eric, I thought of another question. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
I'm going to mess with the flow.
That's all right.
Minimum contributions on a 529,
that's a
right?
great
What does it take to get one started?
Typically it's $250.
Okay.
Okay, but we can circumvent that if you're going to make monthly contributions.
Okay.
Then we can get around the $250. But if you're like, hey, I'm just going to open it up right now, $250.
So that tells me for $27 a month,
Yep.
set on an automatic
Yep. Right.
withdrawal,
Right.
you can set up a 529.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
And just real quick, you brought up a question of a lot of clients ask me, and I'll do this real quick, is how much should I, save for college? Well, it's how much do you want to pay for college? Do you want to pay it all? Do you want to pay half? Do you want to pay a quarter? Books and tuition. That's what really determines how much you want to put away.
Okay.
So.
And any of it is helpful.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Any of it is
Exactly.
helpful.
You got it. Exactly.
We have 3 girls that have all graduated college. We did not help. We just weren't in a situation where we could. We had them really young. We were fortunate. All of them have had help through scholarships, whether it's athletic, academic, whatever. But every little bit
helps.
would help.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's the end of the day, you've got $10,000. Man, that pays for something.
Right.
So,
Books into it. I mean, it pays for books,
That's
right? So, but all right.
Oh, what we've all been
waiting for.
That seems dangerous.
You're here to grill the mayor.
But yeah, so we got Chris Lievsay, recently elected mayor of Blue Springs back in April, I think. So it hasn't been quite a year yet.
It's getting close. So we're at about 10 months.
About 10 months, right?
It's getting close.
Yeah, and I know we had Laura on last month with the chamber. I know you've always do, not you, but the city always does a state of the city lunch. With the chamber, always one of the best attended events. For the chamber lunches. That and the school. I think the school district.
Yeah, their update's very good.
Yeah.
And that is what, the 20th?
I think.
Yeah, next week, next Thursday.
Is it next
the
Thursday?
20th,
That
yeah.
was Thursday, February 20th.
Yep.
So.
Okay.
Coming right up.
Next week.
Open to anyone, by the
Absolutely.
way. Just reach out to the chamber to purchase a lunch ticket if it's something you want to attend. But
But Chris, tell us a little bit about what's going on, at the city, and anything else you'd like to talk about.
Well, you and I were talking earlier, and I said you're kind of getting a preview for the state of the city. So there is a lot of great things. I try to kind of highlight a few specific ones when I get a chance to talk to people. So one of the big ones, and what we heard from residents forever, pretty much every citizen survey, is that street and sidewalk maintenance, traffic is always the number one priority.
Yep.
And so fortunately, last year the city council kind of stepped up and the residents supported a bond issue that will put $40 million directly into street maintenance and infrastructure projects.
Oh, nice.
So the big part of that will happen. The part of that we prioritized was street maintenance. And so this year alone, we will put $10 million directly just into street maintenance. And that's already in process. They're doing the plans now. We should probably have those bonds ready by one of the next council meetings in March. So that will cover about 52 miles of our entire 260-mile road system. We have it's probably a little higher than that now, 260 lane miles in the city of Blue Springs. So they'll put about 1/5 of the entire system that will get addressed just this calendar year alone. So it's not going to get us all the way there.
Right.
It's not going to, we're not going to have streets paved with gold, but it will at least give us a big boost to start addressing what we've been told is a very important priority. So that'll be big. The rest of the projects will continue after that. The council prioritized those in the bond election, so we kind of know from the residents what they expect. So you'll see some of those other projects. One of them's, for example, a turn lane on Adams Dairy Parkway turning east onto Duncan. So that for the people that live on the north side of town, there's a straight and a right, and there's a left turn lane. So if you want to go right and go out to those neighborhoods to the east, one person wants to go straight, and you're stuck there.
You're stuck there, yeah.
Traffic backs up there during rush hour especially, and during peak times. And so just projects like that will align intersections, improve traffic flow, improve congestion, in addition to just the street maintenance. So that will be big
yeah.
for the city over the next several years, and that was because the residents supported that bond issue, and
Nice.
it was 75% pass rate, so it was very big.
Nice.
So that'll be, for several years, will be very positive. Another big thing that the council's prioritized over the last year especially is the downtown Blue Springs area. So in March of last year, we approved, I guess, a new downtown master plan. So that was developed over several months. We had a process that included stakeholders downtown, input from residents, and really started to make a practical plan. We've had plans in the past, and we were successful in completing some of those. But this one was something that we thought was very achievable, very practical, and so we already started implementing those items. So election was in April. In May, we created a implementation task force, so it wasn't just a plan that sat on a shelf, and we had that group prioritize those ideas in the master plan and tell us what they thought would A, have the most impact on downtown, and then B, what they thought we could achieve in a short time frame. So those were things that started to see the impact on Main Street very soon. So I think it was about August they completed that process, gave us their recommendations. In September, the council approved 3 resolutions that identified those priorities that they had passed. So the first one is there's a Central Park downtown. Don't know if you're aware of that. Most people aren't. So the old train depot, which is now across the street from the police station. So that is technically what's called Central Park, where that train depot sits. But really all that's there is a parking lot that feeds mostly the community garden and the train depot. But there's a lot of space there, and then back behind there is actually a pond that would be a nice feature for a park. So the idea is maybe utilize that better, make it a draw to the downtown district, give a place for kids to play and residents to hang out, to grab some food downtown and eat there maybe, just to kind of be a gathering place for the downtown district. There's a plan to put a walking trail around the pond to make it a nice feature as well. So really utilizing that space, making it a better draw to downtown. So that's one thing that's currently being worked on. The other one is an RFP for city-owned property that's called the lumber yard. So it was space that the city bought years ago when we remodeled City Hall and used it as a temporary city hall as it was being remodeled. So that has since been raised. It's green space now, and we have issued a request for proposal. We had 2 responses, and this month we'll be evaluating those to see which project we like, if we like either of them, and maybe potentially move forward with one of them. So that will be a huge project for downtown. Anything that happens there would be different, but if we can really utilize it well and find a project that will do what the residents have said they've wanted downtown, density, some mixed use, some more shopping opportunities, retail and restaurants down there, in addition to some more housing, I think it will be a big draw. So more people, the density is really, of all the places in Blue Springs where the residents have seemed to be most comfortable with additional density is on Main Street and downtown. Apartments, they just feel the more people are there, the more draw there's going to be for those type of things. So
well, it has to have been a chicken and an egg situation for him, right? How do we bring more people? We don't bring people unless we have things for them to do. So if you can accomplish both in one area, then I would think that sounds like a great direction to me.
Yeah, and there has been a lot of success, especially over the last 10 years. As I said, there were plans. I think the last plan was passed in maybe 2004, so it had been quite a while. And if you look at that plan, we were successful in completing several of those items, but the overall strategic direction of that plan was very ambitious, and so we accomplished a lot of things. But it even envisioned basically creating a square that does not exist in our downtown.
Oh, wow.
And so possible, yes, but difficult without a lot of investment and a lot of other things going right. So, but in the past year, past 10 years, Downtown Alive was created about that long, 8 to 10 years ago, 10 to 12 years ago. They were very successful. There's new shops, there's new restaurants downtown that weren't there even 5 years ago. And so there's a lot of good things happening, and the city council as a whole is very supportive of those things and is moving in that direction. The third thing, and that will also changed literally the landscape of downtown is streetscape plan. So the master plan envisioned some additional streetscape, maybe even to the point of realigning the street, changing the parking structure, making sidewalks bigger so you can have outdoor seating. Even some plans around just not Main Street itself, but kind of the downtown district. And so those are currently being worked on right now. We've hired a company called Cochrane, an engineering firm. They're coming up with some potential proposals that the council can evaluate, and again, we should be looking at those in the next couple of months, probably selecting one of those shortly and starting down that road of literally reformatting what Main Street looks like. So
that's great.
Those are the three things that the task force identified, the council's already taken action on, are already in the works. And then you might have heard last month, we also announced that we have purchased the old First Baptist Church property. So again, that's in the master plan. There's some ideas, some strategic options that we could utilize that for. So there's no specific plan of what we are definitely going to do with it, but we already have some ideas, already have some direction that we could take. And again, it's a strategic property that could completely remake what downtown looks like. So a lot of good things happening there as well.
Those are all great things.
I know, exciting,
Wow.
exciting. One thing I was thinking about when you were talking about improving the streets and doing that, I saw some work being done just out here, just in front of my building here, of some patchwork, which good old winter will do that to the streets,
right?
So, but one thing that come to my mind is, I always hear people talking about, 7 Highway. A lot of people don't realize 7 Highway is not the City of Blue Springs' responsibility. That is a state highway,
Yeah, we feel unique anyway. We have the two main drags through Blue Springs, 7 Highway and 40 Highway, are both the responsibility of Missouri Department of Transportation. In addition, what people don't often realize is I-70 and everything around I-70 is also MoDOT. So the intersection of 7 Highway and I-70, the off-ramps and all that is also MoDOT. The intersection of even Woods Chapel and ADP, even though ADP is a city road and Woods Chapel is a city road, the intersection, the stoplights, and for a good while from there is also responsibility of MoDOT. So sometimes there's a pothole that, is on ADP, but it's technically under I-70. That's technically MoDOT's responsibility. So that gets confusing. The other comment I often hear on that is, yes, the city could go patch those ourselves. People feel like we're passing the buck when we say, that's MoDOT. So we do communicate with MoDOT. We try to tell them, hey, there's a large pothole here on your road. Maybe it's something you should take care of. They're usually pretty responsive, and we've done a lot to try to improve that relationship over the last year. But the other thing is, if the city does go out and patch that pothole, we're using your tax dollars to go do that when you already have tax dollars paying for it through MoDOT. So you're essentially then double paying for it if the city goes and does it. If it's a safety issue, there has been times where it's a dramatic pothole. It's popping tires, it's on that, and we will just go ahead and patch it because it's a public safety issue. But otherwise, we try to work with them as a partner and be a good partner, and try to work with them and make that happen. So that does get confusing. Often people don't realize that, but one of those things you got to work with in government.
Exactly. So.
Hot seat?
No, I just thought if you had any other questions or anything.
Actually, he talked about all the things I thought he would, tell us about. I love downtown Blue Springs, and I'm really excited for the future of downtown Blue Springs. I know we have some new things coming in. I just saw something with Downtown Alive the other day about a new, looks like maybe event space / speakeasies.
The old the Vicky Jack and John Jack, that building on the end, they recently sold that. It's going to be kind of an event space. There's a new yoga studio downtown. Megan's Yoga. This is her third location, I think. I actually went to school with Megan and her husband Chris, and so they're great people, and she's got a great business, and that'll be a big draw. There's all sorts of exciting things happening down there. People that continue to get interested in it. So that's kind of how that happens, right? There are some pioneers to Main Street, those that are currently there now, the pizza shops, the East 40s, the people that have been there, putting the Scout, the bean counter, some people that have been there longer than that really kind of put in the effort. And so they don't realize that the activity that they created is what's going to make that successful over time. So sometimes they bear the brunt of the risk, but they've also created a way for us to be successful, so they deserve a lot of credit. But there's more development happening that's not just downtown as well. We just approved the final plat for a Dutch Brothers that will be there by Popeyes. They're that intersection, Artie Mize. There are 2 Tim Horton coffees that are going in, and one in the old Backyard Burger building and the old Burger King on Woods Chapel. So that's kind of their first ones in the Kansas City region.
Is it really?
It's a Canadian brand.
It's a Canadian, in Canada, there's Starbucks and McDonald's. There's one in every corner. But they're just kind of getting into the U.S. market. And so
I hear it's their pastries maybe that are good, or breakfast. I can't quite.
They have apparently, some good pastries. It's Canadian coffee. I don't know if that's different, but,
but I got a couple. Swig. I don't know if you guys have ever been out to Swig yet. Have you been to Swig?
No,
my it's busy all the time.
I mean, it's out to the street.
What is it?
It's a soda. It's just a soda drive-through place, and they do specialty sodas.
They'll put coconut
syrups
in it,
and mixtures and all that.
Like Italian sodas?
No,
or
just regular soda.
Dr. Pepper with chocolate and coconut.
Soda fountain, but with a drive-through.
I get the cherry bomb. It's Pepsi.
Once a week?
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I may have gotten 2 in a week. I only drink 1 pop a week.
Okay.
And that was
Get your quota. Huh?
That's right. That was yesterday. So, but Swig is it's been big, and if I'm right, it was the first one in Kansas City as well.
They have other ones now, but yes, I think we were the first that approved it. They may have finished the Over in the Park one first, but it's very big. I hear it's big with the high school kids especially. Like school gets out and they drive the Swig and then they go through the line. So and then they've had, usually the traffic's not bad. I live over there off of Artie Mize, and occasionally when they have specials, it backs up onto or onto whatever that is, their First Street or Sunnyside, I guess. So it gets very busy.
You have to go check out the Swig.
I don't drink soda, so I don't know if that'll work for me.
But they have all kinds of lemonade. I mean,
all right. Iced tea. I like iced tea.
I don't know.
Energy drinks. They've got frosted stuff. They've got everything.
So you have to check out Swig. So, and then we got the new burger place coming in right up here on the corner.
Small sliders. That again, first one for the area. They're looking at a few other locations too, but it's again mostly drive-through. There's no indoor seating. They will have kind of an outdoor seating area, but a big change to that intersection. It had been those same buildings that had been vacant for a while, or at least not. Cigar Merchant was in there for a long time.
I know what you're talking about. The other building, that fourplex or whatever.
I guess maybe not vacant, underutilized. I guess for a long time. So that'll be big. We did approve the majority of the council approved a new car wash, which I know is always a hot topic. But it will.
Can we get more storage?
We haven't approved, so until that car wash, we hadn't approved a car wash in about 6 or 7 years. But this will fill a vacant building, that's been vacant for about 4 or 5 years. It was a car lot before that. Space is kind of limited, so they had approved it once and it got turned down, and they came back and they had enough votes. So that'll be a big change for 7 Highway. I know people give us a hard time about it, but according to the market information, again, it's underutilized, which is why we continue to get requests to put those in. So we've turned them down at times. We didn't feel like it was appropriate, but
you bring up the car wash. The next one you hear about is what?
Well, storage units,
facilities, right?
Again,
but I'll jump on that one a little bit. I meant, just being in my business, right? You're seeing the older, the baby boomers, they're downsizing, right? And so storage units are a big thing now. So I mean, I'll defend that a little bit when you say, another storage facility. Well, there's need for
There's a market.
Because of all the downsizing you're seeing from the baby boomers.
Again, we haven't approved a true storage unit in about 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. What is become big right now, and is not just the Blue Springs, is kind of the it's sort of storage. It's a contractor storage, so it has an office with a garage in the back,
Yep,
and
that's-
so
similar to the new one.
yes,
Up
the
on
flex
Duncan.
spaces
Yeah,
on Duncan.
Flex, yep.
Yeah.
I think down the North Outer Road near ADP, there was one a few years ago. So we have approved those recently, but those have a different clientele, a different market,
Right.
and they're all full. They're
Yeah,
very
yeah.
well used, and
I live
a lot of-
over by the one on Duncan, and I mean, there's like a hairdresser there.
barbershop running out of there.
I
There's-
didn't know that.
You got people running roofing businesses, so it's
Yeah.
real. It's important for those small businesses that they need an office, but they also need to store
Storage, yeah.
the roofing materials or
Right.
construction materials. When
Yeah.
you're only allowed to do that in so many places,
Right.
so it's been helpful to
Yeah.
them. But
Yeah.
those are some big things. We do have a few other that are coming. I've heard recently. The Jack in the Box recently closed.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But there's already a lot of interest in that, so
Okay.
they've been getting phone calls. I also heard the Dunkin' Donuts had closed permanently as well. Already getting some attention on that. Yeah, they had been having. I think they temporarily closed for a while, and then my understanding is they
They just
permanently
closed
closed. So even that space, been getting phone calls on it already.
Well, that's a
too,
good
so,
location.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I'm shocked by that.
a lot of good things happening. McAllister's has already started construction
that.
over on Adams Dairy Landing.
Yeah.
So dirt's
I am
moving on
learning
it.
so many things today.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you this. I have a business in Blue Springs, right? So I had to go out and renew my license
sure, your business-
yesterday.
yeah,
I had to
absolutely.
get my business. It's up at the end of this month, so I did that yesterday.
Yeah.
With the mayor coming on, I better be compliant.
Better,
right?
yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
sure he's checking
Checking
me,
all the
making
way
sure,
out,
right?
yeah.
So I'm not coming on unless he's got a
Right,
business
right.
license. But I noticed on the city's website, you can go to the city's website and you'll see those projects on the
Yeah.
there's a map. And I saw the McAllisters. I saw the other one you were talking about. So go out to the city's website if you're interested on what's out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So
The other big thing we've tried to do, especially in the last year, is always our economic development has been somewhat reactive over time, and so that was very intentional about being much more proactive about not just waiting for projects to come to us,
Yeah.
but trying to sell the city proactively. So we hired a new economic development manager in October.
Yeah.
So you maybe met Josh.
I have. He's
I
So
very
have,
good.
he's
Yeah.
pretty active, has been doing a lot, got a lot of good ideas and a lot of activity. So he was just at one of the big conferences last week. Already got some good connections there. So we're being very intentional about the types of projects that we've heard residents say they wanted. More full service restaurants, the higher end options that we maybe are pretty limited on. And so he's been reaching out to those people. Sometimes we get told no,
Yeah.
and even that is helpful. And that's
Right.
what I think we've been missing in the
Right.
past is maybe we had some conversations, we were just told no, and we just moved on.
Right.
Well, sometimes that information about why you're
Why
told
you-
no
exactly.
is either informs your ability to fix those things,
Right.
or there's some projects where they want rail access or river access.
Right.
You didn't qualify for those. You
You're
just
not
move
gonna
on.
qualify,
right?
yeah.
But if it's something that's fixable or an approach that we need to take, then it gives us the opportunity to do that. So,
Yeah. Interesting.
we've been doing a lot of the last year. A lot of what me and staff have been doing is kind of those reset the relationship meetings, making sure we're being good partners with the school district and the fire district and the Missouri Department of Transportation, with all the developers in town. So we've been doing a lot of intentional outreach, intentional connections to make sure everybody knows the vision of Blue Springs, what we're trying to achieve, and how to
you.
make that successful.
Bless you.
So,
Yeah.
so a lot of good things going
Yeah,
on. but-
sounds like it. That's awesome, Chris. And thanks for coming in and
Absolutely.
sharing that.
Glad
I
to
know
do
this
it.
podcast
Oh no,
is
we're
running.
so far over
I
time,
know, but
don't care
I
anymore.
didn't care either. I was like, keep talking, keep talking.
I actually had another question for
Sure,
you.
absolutely.
Was the city responsible for like the Christmas in the park at Rotary
sure.
Park?
Yeah.
So if you did not, I assume we're going to do that again next year.
That's the
would be
plan,
my
yeah.
Assumption. If you didn't get a chance to do that this year, it was just a fantastic time. Rotary Park. I mean, I'm sure you've all been there. Short little walk, but I mean, it was gorgeous. A beautiful Christmas tree that actually lights up and like follows music. I don't know how to describe that, but it was a fantastic time and something new this year that we haven't had in the past. So that was a lot of fun. I just wanted to make sure, I thought that was a city thing, but I would verify. But I thought that was a great little event.
Yeah, the Parks Department for a few years have been trying to find a way to do a winter event of some kind. So we have the 4th of July event, we have sports things throughout, we now have the aquatic center. We didn't really have anything in the winter to have activity
Right.
for residents, and so they've been looking for a way to do that for a long time. What my role in it was moving the mayor's Christmas tree from where it had been on Main Street, which love having it downtown and love supporting what they do, but this was an opportunity with a new tree that was very interactive that played into this winter event idea. So yes, not only are we going to continue to do it, the idea is that it grows over time.
Yeah.
Love it.
So you'll see other, I mean, I don't want to promise anything, but there are other cities, other areas where they have maybe an ice skating rink at the park.
Oh, wow.
We've talked about maybe having food trucks out there certain times, a restaurant, almost a pop-up restaurant on site. So a lot of great ideas that over time it can grow. Even literally the tree can grow. We can get more bases that'll make it taller. So it might grow a little bit over the years. So a lot of good opportunity there. So
Be the Rockefeller tree.
yeah, I know.
I
I don't know where we're going to stop, but I don't know. We'll see where it goes. So
But can you see it from space?
Yeah.
Is that
Right?
Christmas? Wait, which one is that? It's
That's-
Danny DeVito and it's a Christmas movie.
I was saying,
Danny DeVito just wants you to be able to see
it from
his
space. Okay.
Well,
lights
I
from
was-
space.
Well, I have a new goal now.
There you
so-
go.
There you
Yeah.
go. I was thinking
Absolutely.
right,
National
hot seat.
Lampoon's Vacation
Oh, that's a
or
great
that
one.
Christmas. You can see that one from space. So.
Yes.
All right, Chris.
We got a hot seat. So
Right.
it's February,
Yes, it is.
the month of love. Flowers or chocolates?
For me or for my wife?
Either way. I mean, I don't want to spoil your wife's
right.
Yeah.
surprise.
Yeah.
No, well, I have a good answer to this. Just to answer your question, chocolates.
Okay.
But so I have a unique situation with this
Okay.
month. So my wife and I started dating on February 12th.
Okay.
So actually, February 12th, we have been together for 23 years.
Oh,
Aw.
congratulations.
And then Valentine's Day is February 14th.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then her birthday is February 16th.
So it's like a week
Wow.
long
So,
celebration.
yes,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
my
This
wife's
sounds
name is
expensive.
Grace. So several years ago, we started calling it the Week of Grace
Week of
because she gets gifts, like every other day this whole week. And so yes, this is an important time of year for me.
That's
To
great.
make sure I got to step.
So there
up,
probably
so.
are flowers. There probably
There's
are
flowers, there's
chocolate.
chocolates, there's gifts. It's all there.
Everything, all of
Everything
it.
is there.
Okay.
On the chocolate front, we do have a chocolatier in Blue
We do.
Springs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bliss Chocolates
Yep.
are down south in the town.
Yeah.
So they have some pretty high quality chocolates. So
Very
don't
high
miss out
quality. It
that.
is
It's
good
good stuff. Yeah.
What about you?
Well, chocolate.
Oh.
Chocolate. I don't think flowers.
Yeah.
Come on, no.
Okay.
Chocolate.
Okay.
Chocolate. And you?
Neither. Chocolate covered strawberries or
Oh.
nothing at all.
Oh,
okay.
If
Good
you're
to know.
listening out there, that is my
Brian, are
expectation.
you listening?
Yes,
Brian, are you listening?
I
Does
actually
he
don't
watch
think
the
he
podcast?
watches No.
He doesn't
know.
watch the
Yeah,
podcast.
well,
Maybe that
one
can
of
be
these
your
days.
request. Like,
Right.
hey, for
Maybe
Valentine's
you
Day,
should watch
the
this one.
podcast.
Actually,
yeah.
we are leaving Thursday for Seattle, sunny
wow.
Seattle, in the middle of
Okay, yeah.
February.
Right.
So we're going to do Seattle, Portland, Oregon, come back up the Oregon coast. So we're spending Valentine's Day
Yeah.
away this year, and
I have a brother that lives in Seattle, so
Oh,
if your car breaks down or something,
right, just call him. Like,
Oh, the mayor.
I know I got a guy. That's all. I'm saying. Yeah.
oh my goodness, what a good time, Chris!
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
so
Thank
much
you for having
joining
me.
us.
I got a hot seat question.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
New hot seat
Yes,
question.
new.
All
Okay.
right. But before I do the hot seat question, he talked chocolates, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
You heard of a whatchamacallit, haven't you?
Oh, I know about whatchamacallit.
Okay,
Absolutely, yeah.
it's just me. I don't
Yeah.
know, and they're nasty.
I made her
I
eat
mean-
one. She hadn't had one,
It's
so I made
it's
her try
a
one.
wafer. Is that kind of
Yeah.
whatchamacallit? Okay, yeah, I like that.
Anything with that
Yeah.
weird crispy,
Yeah. Well,
I do
okay.
not like.
She
So
hadn't
Kit
heard
Kats
of it.
are out. Nestle's are out.
No,
Oh,
none of
God,
that.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I made
She's
her
missing
eat
out
one.
like half the chocolate.
I know, right?
So, yeah.
I made her
Did
eat it.
try a pecan Snickers the other day.
Oh, interesting.
I
Okay.
don't know
Yeah,
why
I
they
don't
keep
know.
trying to reinvent
Yeah.
perfection, right?
Yeah.
Like Snickers and Reese's can just
Yeah.
leave those two things alone.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't think we need to improve on those. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
That's all right.
Hot seat.
So we just had the biggest snowfall in Blue Springs.
Yes, and we got
we
more
are-
coming tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, and as we tape this on Tuesday, we're ready for another snowstorm to come in.
Right.
But I know you have children. You mentioned it
do.
earlier. So the best
Good one.
sledding place in Blue Springs.
Well, I mean, you can't go wrong with Keystone Park,
Yeah.
and that's the traditional awesome one. So I live behind Zarda Barbecue, so my kids go to James Walker. Pretty good sledding hill there at James
Okay.
Walker too.
Okay.
And then on the south part of town, somebody was telling me about one that was down there. I guess the Keystone's close to that because you got Daniel Young. So yeah,
Yeah.
Keystone's
Okay.
the ideal one. So.
Yeah,
Okay.
right at the edge of the parking
Yeah.
lot, it just slopes.
Yeah,
That is
okay.
a big hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
pretty good,
Okay.
and it holds holds up even after days and days.
Days of
you know,
sledding.
it starts to get pretty icy.
You wanna say it, yeah.
Like you're just.
Yeah, and
then
if you've
it
ever
is-
done it, you know there's the creek at the end, so you got to bail out before you get over the ridge. Otherwise, you end up in the water. And
Splash
many
down.
a kid have ended up in that creek. So that's just how it goes.
It's funny because we were talking, my kiddos, we were talking about, Dad, where did we go sledding? They remember, we went to Old Mill. Is
Yeah.
That's
we,
where I used to go
Okay,
to.
yeah.
that's a
Old
good
Mill
one,
with-
yeah.
I mean, one time.
until the city started planting trees over there.
Yes.
Now it's a little bit of a landmine
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah.
So, but then we started going up to the freshman center, and there's a big hill on the backside of that
Oh,
parking
yeah,
lot
I could
that
see
goes
that.
down. So we would then.
Down towards the train track.
Well, yeah,
Maybe
right
not
down
for
to-
the
They're on that
train
one too.
But we
track.
didn't make it that far. But anyway, so yeah.
Very good.
So, all right. Okay.
I've already thanked Chris, so
Yeah,
I
no.
jumped the gun a little bit.
That's all right. Well, Chris,
thank you for having me. I appreciate the time.
coming on. Yeah, it was awesome having you on. I don't think our listeners will mind that we went a
Yes.
little long. They'll probably skip you and I anyway.
Right, they
Go right
just
to Chris.
fast forward to the mayor.
Right, exactly. So, Chris, once again, thanks for
Thank you so
joining
much.
us today. That'll wrap it up for episode 5 of Insurance Investments and All About Town podcast. We will be back here in about a month to shoot, not shoot, but to put out episode 6 of our podcast. Everybody have a great rest of your day. I don't know why I said that, but anyway, see you guys
you
later.
soon.
See you. Bye.